hate speech, such as other things that we would ban because we know the negative effects. This is something that we can apply here. This is not something abnormal. The other thing is that we have to remember that yes, you can express yourself through music, but the problem with these sort of songs, these very popular songs, is a lot of the people involved in the making of these songs are looking at a different goal, a goal for money. And therefore, it is not purely something of expression. There's also economics in there. There's people wanting to satisfy customers, people not looking for the best, not just looking to send a good message out there or their message out there. Yes.
So, given this incentive, wouldn't artists then turn to more subtle, undetectable kinds of sexism with your band in place?
No. I'm afraid that we would not allow very subtle. The problem is, in fact, the subtle types of sexism, not the types that are to tell a story, not the types that are just to express oneself, the types that are subtle, the types that enforce bad stereotypes and underline, hit on our subconscious and make us think differently and make us make decisions differently. The next thing that opposition said was
Point of information.
No, thank you. That there should be, that the parents of these children, children who are listening to this music, should be able to monitor what they're doing. And for some reason, they think it is acceptable for parents who have homophobic or sexual views to then give these views to their children. And we would also like to bring up the fact that there aren't just two black and white types of parents. People are very different. There's very many in-between parents. Parents that don't realize the implications of the
information.
No, thank you. Parents that don't realize the implications of the songs that they're letting their children listen to. And therefore, this system would not work. The other system that they decided to say that we should enforce the laws, find ways to stop homophobia and sexism. And the thing is that many countries do have these things in place. Many people have things in place to stop homophobia and sexism from happening, but it's still happening. So we need to put more
Information.
Yes.
Wouldn't the solution then be to provide age restrictions and education to parents to tell them to steer clear of such music?
We have certain PG things, restrictions, but with music it's very difficult to restrict. It's not practical. The children are going to find a way to get into it. There's a huge internet, many thousands of sites, many places that they can get access to it if we restrict it. And in fact, for children, if we restrict it, perhaps
Point of information.
No, thank you. Perhaps this would even encourage them to want to go towards it. I would now like to start with my positive matter. I will be talking about society's perception, the negative stereotypes created by this music, and the precedent that it sets. Now, first of all, we look at
Point of information.
No, thank you. These societal perceptions that allow homophobia and sexuality, and that because of these songs in this media, we're allowed to see these things as the norm. Perhaps less than before, but we do see these as the norm. People use these things, use stereotypes in their everyday life, and we can see it. Perceptions are easily changed by the media. For example, such as propaganda in World War II. Not only it changed the perceptions of adults, fully educated, no thank you, fully educated human beings living in that time. Their perceptions were changed simply through the media, and media has this effect. In fact, media has equal, if not more, influence than government in our society today. There are many people that know more about celebrities than they know about current politics. And we don't want this because this encourages people to become desensitized. And if they become...
Point of information.
Yes.
You argue that the problem is these forms of music are so subtle that they insidiously change the mind on the subconscious level. So how are you going to ban these sexist and homophobic lyrics, given that very often they're not clear?
Just because they're not clear in the beginning, and just because they're not clear to the mass population that are listening to the songs and getting it into their subconscious, doesn't mean that if we analyze them, we can't see those clear meanings. Okay, so if people become desensitized, it's much easier to promote a rape culture, overlook cases of rape or overlook cases of sexuality discrimination, make jokes about serious things that are happening, serious violations of people's write serious violations. I mean, if